Some days that said, quiet, people come over here and observe. It's all about the camera.
That's all right. Pretty good. Yeah.
What do I need to do?
This is live on Facebook.
Okay.
This is live on YouTube. Just monitor it.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? And if something happens, if the internet is interrupted, but that's not happening with you. Just find my camera. Go to the homepage. And just type it in.
Okay. How would I do that?
You should be able to come out and say, I can't do it now because it's out of here. It's just like a cell phone.
I'm happy. Like,
No, I got to run. I just wanted it to be monitored. I just got to run because I got to go to another event and then come back. Okay, so I just wanted somebody just to monitor it and make sure.
Okay, so if something happens, you said if it goes out, I just go to.
Just press finish. If it goes out, you can finish it so it'll upload whatever it recorded. It'll upload to the page.
Okay.
And then what you can do is just press the camera button on both the cell phone and the tablet, and it'll just record it.
Okay.
And, for example, it's just like you got your phone here, and then let's say if something goes out, you find your camera, go to video, you just start recording. Same thing.
Okay. And with this, just hit the finish and go back to the camera. It's just the same thing.
Yeah. And like I said, that's only if
If it goes out.
Yeah, if it goes out, there's something in the state. Hopefully it will.
Okay.
And try not to talk too much because we want to get the sound on that. So yeah. Okay.
Up in your seat, can you see the water?
Do you not want to? I could bring, because I lowered it for the headroom. I can bring it up. Yeah. I mean, I can raise it up so that's fine.
Yeah.
You can take the label off.
Take one of these cheers.
Good afternoon. I've been waiting to say that all day. Welcome to Artists in the Afternoon 3, The Right, Passion, and Purpose. I'm Gary Tennille of REThink The Narrative Media Company, and on behalf of my partners and sponsors, the Esteem Award Pride Index, Meak Productions, and Eban Man, thank you so very much for joining us for another round of Artists in the Afternoon. We were just here a year ago, and now we're back again, and we've got some new people who are joining us this year. It's just absolutely amazing to have you all here. And also, let me say this as well. Happy Black Gay Pride.
Yeah.
Absolutely. We are in a day and a time where not only the rights of queer people, but Black people in general are under attack. And so it is so important that we have forums like this in order to get the word out, in order to express ourselves, in order to make sure that our culture does not die or is rewritten or whitewashed, for lack of a better term. So thank you all so very much for joining us. We have some amazing panelists here today. And so our first panel, we're going to just talk about this whole notion of the right. And do I mean the W-R-I-T-E or the R-I-G-H-T? I actually mean them both. All right, and so we have here author, poet, and spoken word artist of the Virgin to the Life series, John Collins. Author of Men After 10, Casey Hamilton. What's that all about, y'all? Writer, instructor, equity leader, Andre Holmes, and Atlanta firefighter. Wow, okay. And Black queer non-binary artist, activist, and author, Dion Alexander McNeil. Let's give them a hand, y'all. My first question is for John Collins. So why John? You still a virgin, huh? So tell us about you and tell us about your book series, Virgin to the Light.
Well, my name is John Collins. I'm originally from Detroit, Michigan. Navy veteran, been in Atlanta probably about 10 years now. I think I wrote the Virgin to the Light series basically because I wanted us to have a love story. So that was just kind of something that I wanted to take a look at, questioning love through friendships, our relationships with our parents, as they age and as, we get older and things of that nature and how the roles kind of shift and they look at us in a different light. I feel we as gay people or, the LGBT community, we're here to kind of usher in unconditional love. I think we're the key to that and the savior to our families within that whole role. So that's kind of what the series touches on and what I choose to write about.
So did the Virgin to the Life series come from personal inspiration, personal aspiration, or what?
Yes, it did come from personal experience. It started from a 3-page essay that I wrote when I was about 17. I used to keep a journal, and my mother, she discovered it one day when I kind of forgot it, rushing, getting ready for school. So that's kind of where the series evolved from. She found out I was gay. She drove up to the school, pulled me out of class, and was like, "Are you fucking me?" This is what she said to me. So I was 17, we were overseas in Germany. At that point it was fight or flight for me. So I was like, okay, I know I'm not gonna be, rely on you guys once I graduate high school. So what's next? So that was the reason why I joined the military. I wanted to have a different world experience, but that wasn't, what God had for me. So it kind of took me on that journey to continue writing. I burned that notebook and, started a new path in terms of why am I here? What is our purpose here as, the LGBT community, same gender loving man of color. So
Wow. So fast forwarding, I'm not going to tell your age or how many years later. What is your relationship like with your parents now?
oh my God. So it took a while. My dad was actually the first to kind of come around, like to go from saying now I have 2 daughters to, basically us. We speak every day. The questions that I was bringing to God in my mind, like, what are we going to talk about? How are we going to resolve this? What is my relationship going to look like? 'Cause I grew up with both my parents. Me and my dad used to go on cars together. We used to go fishing. I'm a church boy, so what does that look like in his eyes and in terms of our relationship? So now, it's like he's waiting for me to bring somebody home to meet him. He asks the questions that, I talk to God about, like, what would I answer him if he was to bring this to me, in terms of who am I dating and do I want kids, do I want to get married? My dad asked me these questions. He's cool with that now. It's a matter of him saying, if you were to bring your partner here, if I was to visit your house with my wife, you wake up and you kiss your partner in the morning, walk to the breakfast table, that's your partner saying, I'm not gonna, disrespect that, that's love. So he loves me. And my mother, we just got to a point this year where this is the first time she came to visit me at any place that I've lived at. Just bought a house, she's seen the house, we had a great time. She got to see where I did our first play, you know what I'm saying? Like, and I got to explain what I actually do. She saw my accolades on my wall in my office. You still have, some few more rocks and reels to climb over, but me and my mom are in a place now where she respects me as a man. She, no longer holds the gay thing against me. So for those of you who are out there still kind of struggling with that, looking for the seek that love in your relationship, just put it in God's hands. Continue to be who you want to be, for your family, and it's gonna work out. So,
Wow, what an amazing story and an amazing journey. Do you know whether or not your parents have read any of your works?
my dad has read the first 2 books. When it gets to the sex scenes, he kind of has to. But he said, he's read my work. My mother, I think she secretly has. She hasn't expressed anything. I know she's read the first book, but the rest of the series, I don't know about that. But other family members, of course, I she was a family that has read all my work, and have come to the play, supported, projects that I've done outside of writing. So yeah.
Wow. It's amazing. You don't have to be a famous person to be a trailblazer. Many of us are trailblazers within our own families, because if it had not been for us stepping out and saying, this is who I am, it would not have perhaps cleared the path and laid the foundation for others who have to come behind us, no matter whether it's sexual identity, gender identity, or anything else. Someone in the family has blazed the trail, and that is indeed so important. Thank you for sharing. Now, Casey Hamilton, Men After 10. Now, growing up, I was taught one thing. If there's only one thing open after 10 o'clock, and since the pandemic, it ain't Walmart, it ain't Kroger, it ain't Target. So tell us about this whole notion of your book, Men After 10, and your literary genius.
Well, Men After 10 is a novel about how hard it is being Black, being gay, and being online, and particularly this day and age where we have these apps that are designed to make it easier than it's ever been to connect with other gay men, but it can oftentimes feel like it's harder than it's ever been. So that's what I'm exploring. The stories are told through a group of Black men using the popular hookup app known as Men After 10.
Wow. Oh, hookup happens. What's that?
Well, sex is very important in the gay community, so I had to be raw and authentic and tell it like it is. So yeah.
So you mean people?
I think sex is one for everybody.
It is. Sex is very important, but I think for gay men in particular, it is it's such a bigger part of our world. I really do.
So you mean that there's an app that people can sign into and they can meet other people? I've never heard of anything like that. I've never done anything like that either. So in your book, what's the main takeaway that you want the reader to gain from those stories?
I just want them to relate. It's not about me having all the answers and having everything figured out. These apps, they've been around for a while now. They're going to be around for a while. So it's really just about relating to some part, someone in the story, and hopefully having that. Because I know when I grew up, there wasn't people writing that wall about the really big experiences. Most of what I learned on my own, and I was very naive. So I just hope people will find something.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And many of us, and I'm not going to tell anybody to say this, but there is a generational gap in the Black queer community, in the queer community in general, because of the AIDS epidemic that took a lot of our ancestors that would have transmitted the values that would have helped us to make the transition into this life. I don't call it a lifestyle, it is a life. And so the AIDS pandemic robbed us of those individuals. And so many of us had to learn by trial and error. We didn't have anyone to show us the ropes. We didn't have anyone that we could confide in. And so now, as we become the adults in the room, I'm not going to the adults in the room, we want to make sure that we transmit those values to those who have to come behind us. It is so very important that representation indeed matters. So the Street Committee has been whispering that you're working on a sophomore project. Tell us how that experience has been thus far for you.
It's totally different. My first book, I wrote the book, I kind of live by that quote. I think it's said it, write the book that you wish to see out in the world. And I wrote this was nothing but blood, sweat, and tears in this first book. The second book is a different approach. And one thing that I'm really learning is that just because you not mean that people will automatically give you the privilege of listening to that story. So it's a lot more work that you have to do. In reality, people do not read like they used to. And sometimes you have to meet them where they are, for the audio version. But it's tough, so it's a challenge.
Awesome.
Just keep my flame going and keep writing.
All right, so can you give us a hint? Or is it too soon now?
It's definitely too soon, but I only write when I'm passionate.
Okay, all right, so we know that in the near future, we will see a new book hitting the shelves from Casey Hamilton. All right, author of Men After 10. So if you haven't gotten the first book, please make sure that you get the first book before you get that. Right over there. All right, awesome. All right, so once upon a time, we lived in an era of don't ask, don't tell. But now we're living in an era of say it loud, I'm Black, period, I'm proud. And that don't ask, don't tell era that was particularly to the military, but of course it spilled over into other public service areas. So, firefighter, right? Equity leader, writer. Tell us about
Gay superhero.
Gay superhero. Already get one, huh? Tell us about Andre Holmes.
Wow. Well, you know, first of all, I was always taught, you know, you're gonna work or you don't eat, right? So the first thing that we do before anything is think about what we want to do for a career, how we're gonna make a living for ourselves. And so before I became a firefighter, I was a trained journalist. So I remember very clearly watching, how many of y'all, I'm old enough, I'm 48. I remember Walter Cronkite at CBS News, That's the Way It Is. When I was about 5 or 6, my grandmother bought me a desk and I would gather up my papers and I put her clip-on pearl earring, that was my microphone. And I would sit there and when Walter came on, me and little Ray was doing the news. And when I would go to the pediatrician, they would tell me that who are you, young man? I'm Andre. I do the news. Wow. So I was always fascinated by the real life story. My man, I don't know how raw he gets, but I'm like, I remember Elin Harris and people like James R. Hardy talking set scenes in their books. I don't know where the disconnect is with the generation, but like I don't know how raw you get. But I always felt like the real story was where that was to be told. So I had a different world experience. I went to Howard University. ASU, right? I went to Howard University. Decided I was going to major in journalism, and everybody told me, you know, you ain't gonna make no money, right? And they were right. You don't make any money on your first two jobs. And you can switch your job in like 6 months. First job I ever made, $19,000. I had to work at Burlington Coat Factory to make the ends meet, but I had a mentor tell me, don't make the writing your hobby. If you're serious about making a career, I had an opportunity to do a Sears management training program and move to Atlanta and make $36,000 at the time. It was like 99. You get 99. Because they always tell you have to have a plan B. So I was applying for any job that I thought I could have. I applied for in college. So that came up and I had to make a decision. Am I going to take the $19,000 a year job or am I going to take the $36,000 and move to Atlanta and take the reporting job and live in Indianapolis, Indiana? I'm trying to get out of the Midwest. I'm from Wisconsin. There were no Black people. That's why I came to Atlanta. So I was like, I don't know about Indiana, but I had a person tell me, you better make your writing your thing. And then so we transitioned to firefighter. When I got to Atlanta, I'm like 30 years old. I was a print reporter. I worked for the fourth oldest Black newspaper in the country, the Indianapolis Reporter. Wonderful opportunity that I had over there, managing Black press, that historical institution, and meeting people like Mari Evans and Tabitha Smiley, and a lot of strong Indianapolis people. That's where Madam C.J. Walker's plant was. A lot of strong history in Indianapolis. And so there I was, the historical Black paper, and getting everything. I did celebrity news. I did whatever it was in the Black press, you do it. Because it's only about a handful of people. So I was running about 4 staffers and about 10 freelancers to make that publication come out every week. Well, then I moved to Atlanta. Mr. Mays, who had purchased the Reporter, had a television station and a radio station there in Indianapolis. I will never forget the day that I was in the room when Kathy Hughes, he was selling his radio station to Kathy Hughes. And I knew, I said, you are watching, these aren't athletes, these aren't actors, this is Black, excellent Black business people making a major transaction. You are a witness to history. And so I started doing television because of that transaction. I started doing television. I would come on, do the Reporter headlines. My boss, Caroline Mays, who was the niece of Mr. Mays, had a show. I would come on, do the show, talk the headlines. And then when she was gone, I would fill in for her and I would host the program. So then that gave me the bug for television and radio. And I decided I want to be a television reporter because I want to do the news. But when I got to Indianapolis, they were not checking for me. They were like, you've been at that little Black press over there. This is like a major market. This is like a major market. You got to go back to Macon and like maybe you can get you a little reporting job. And I'm like, I am not moving back to a small town. And so it got to the point where the journalism was not paying the bills. And I had to figure out what am I going to do because I had so much love for Atlanta and I didn't want to leave. So then my father told me, I always told you should have joined the service, but he was in the Air Force. You don't ever want to do what your parents do. He was like, you could be an officer, you could be making good money in public affairs for the military. And I didn't, So I was like, I'll give firefighting a try. And sure enough, I got to firefighting, they found out I could write, and they started having me work in the public information office. I was covering, I'd be out here, a fire would be out here, this was going on. All of those skills, because I was prepared, it all kind of fit. And then so, like I said, by the time I joined the fire department, I'm like 38. So I was already, when I moved to Atlanta, I was already comfortable being openly gay. I had met people like Darlene Hudson, Marianne, and Craig Washington. I had started working in the Life Atlanta. Like, this is who I am. So it was not, so what I learned is, however you handle it is how other people will handle it. I was always taught if you carry yourself a certain way, anybody looking at you can't help but to respect you. So when I came into the fire service, I knew I wasn't the only one. I knew I wasn't the only one. No. But, because we live together, we interact together, and the whole point of doing this kind of work is to be a team and not draw attention to yourself. A lot of men do not reveal that part of who they are in the fire service. And so it's slowly changing. I see it changing with the newer recruits. I see it changing. So that's kind of how that happened. But I had to eat, so that's how
It goes back to what you said, if a man don't work, he don't eat. Huh? So where do you see yourself in the next 5 years? When we look at when we read the paper or not the paper, when we look on the internet in a few years, what will we find about Andre Holmes?
I'm in the affirmation business. I affirm, I empower, I inspire. The role that I may be in 5 years, I can't tell you what that will look like, but I can tell you that that's what I'll be doing, and that's what I have always done. Whether I was a journalist trying to broaden the perspective of, because some people don't think Black people are human beings. They don't think that we have fathers that take care of their children. They don't think that we have mothers that read their children. They don't think that we have family that accepts who we are because they don't show you those stories. What sells in this line of work is our pathology.
Yes.
They want to see people dumped in trash cans. They want to see a father put their gay son, a Black father put their gay son in a trash can. My father didn't put me in no trash can. My father always propelled me forward. So that's what I'll be doing.
Awesome. So representation matters in every aspect. Because one of the things I do love about being the trailblazer, breaking the glass ceiling, is that you may be the first, but you will not be the last absolutely amazing. Thank you for sharing. All right, yes, thank you. Dion Alexander Reveal. In your story on PrideIndex.com, you are described as a Black, non-binary person thriving with HIV. We applaud you for just that alone. Please tell us about who you are. Tell us a little bit about your story.
Where do I begin? Let's start there. Honestly, I wasn't at this point where I can say that I was non-binary and thriving. I think it took me a lot of time to get there, so I'll start kind of before, at that point. And that really was back in 2018, and probably a little bit before. I just got out of my relationship with one of my partners, and it was the first relationship where I really discovered that I could be vulnerable, I could be transparent about my HIV status, I could say the word HIV publicly and not feel this sort of stigma that I was feeling at the time when I was first diagnosed. And I was by myself, so I was like, okay, what do I want to do with myself? What is my story? What do I want to do next? And so I think the universe and God just kind of sent the right people in my life. And there was a gentleman who walked up to me along with the organization called Peoria Health Solution, and they were throwing this event called Artists Alive, and they were wanting folks to come on stage and share their story. And they knew that I was a patient that was going there. They knew that I was pretty charismatic and outgoing, and they were like, "Hey, would you be interested in sharing your story living with HIV?" And I was like, "Let me think on that, actually, because I'm not in a place where I feel comfortable with talking about my HIV status. I don't feel like I know enough about it to really go out and be an example for another person." And after a few conversations with some friends, Blair and Bethany, they really had me think really deeply about, okay, if you're going to share this story, remember that this is going down with you. So you're going to be living with this for the rest of your life publicly. And are there any things that some people may not know about you as well, right? At the time, Illinois was HIV criminalization state. So if you were not disclosing your HIV status, you could be criminalized for not disclosing that. And sometimes you can, and sometimes that's a battle, right? If you're he say, she say kind of thing. And I knew that I didn't have that issue because I always tried to be transparent about it, because I knew that I wouldn't want anyone, not even my worst enemy, to kind of have that experience. So I really looked into that and found the courage in myself and just decided to do this. I'm like, why not? Why not share my story? Why not get up there and talk about my experience with HIV, the good and the bad points? And when I did that, it felt like a wave just came off of me, and just like, wow, this is what it feels like. And I'm like, I want to continue to live this sort of warm, this sort of life. I want to keep doing this. And I kind of got some ideas with my background in mass communication. I'm like, I know a few things. Let me go on YouTube and create a channel and just kind of start to bring in folks who's been doing this work and not only share my story, but how can I allow other people to come on and share their story. And I've been doing that, and that's been giving me the courage, the power, and the energy to just get up there, even when I'm afraid, and just try to be like, okay, this is what it is. It looks really bad, and sometimes it looks really great. So this is sort of this human experience when we describe thriving. It's not always amazing. There's going to be some down points, but those down points are points that remind you to be humble and remind you that it's always going to go up.
I love that part. That thriving doesn't always look amazing. I love that, absolutely. So, for those of us, educate those of us in the room who may not know what it means to be a non-binary person. Can you explain what that is, and again, coupling that with your life? Explain to us, what does it mean to be a non-binary person?
For me, I got this question recently, actually through an app as well, and I thought it was such an amazing question because I've never gotten that since moving here to Georgia. And I'll answer it how I answered it to the gentleman. And I was like, for me, being non-binary is I am a person, born male, and I'm kind of stuck in this body, and for lack of a better word, stuck, which means that when I show up in spaces, I I may look male, I may appear male, I may talk male, but how I identify sexually and gender-wise is that I identify with a gender that's outside of male and female. So the expectation of what a man would do and the expectations of what a woman would do are not expectations that I see myself embodying, but sometimes it's sort of a fusion of both of those things, where some days I want to just not wear anything, and I just want to put on sweats, and I just don't want to wear deodorant, and I may not want to take a shower. And then there are days where I'm feeling more in my body, and I want to take care of it. I want to go get my nails done. I want to get my hair done, and I also want to do some things that may be not a normative of what a man would do. But I think bringing that down to concisely describing what non-binary is for me is really living your existence unapologetically. What I mean by that is that showing up as who you are, right? That I know that I'm going to be different, and it takes a lot of courage to wake up and just choose to be yourself. Sometimes it may not make sense to a lot of people, how I show up and what I look like and how I speak. But I think ultimately, as long as I'm okay with that being different and understanding that there is space for me, there is space to be a non-binary person, say that, yeah, this is what I look like, but this is not how I feel. I feel very girly inside. I feel very manly inside. And sometimes I don't feel like any of those things. They just don't make sense to me when I think of how I've shown up in spaces, because it doesn't define, it doesn't describe how I live my life. So to wrap that all up in one go, it's really just being your unique self, but also understanding that there are these systems that are in play that describe us preconditionally when we are born. But as we get older, we start to understand ourselves a lot more and can really make those conditions and centers of ourselves and how we show up.
You come into your authentic self. You come into who you are. You awaken to who you are.
Still awakening.
Still awakening, because it is a process that's ongoing. And you know, a couple of things that we have done, like this history, or those who are telling their version of history sometimes, have done us a disservice, because there has always been what Native American or indigenous culture called two-spirited people in the universe. There has always been this definition, this non-construct, this non-binary person that has always existed throughout time. And so it baffles me why we want to stick everyone in the same box. Everybody doesn't fit in that box. And so thank you for walking in your authentic self. Thank you for understanding who you are and how you are evolving, because it takes many of us a lifetime to get to that place in space. So thank you so very much. So one other question. Where do you see yourself going forward? What's next for Dion?
I've been asking that question a lot lately. Specifically, where do I see myself in the next 5 years? And right now, I think that's choosing to be present, choosing to see the signs. I've been asking God and the universe every day to show me signs that I'm following my purpose and I'm going in the right direction that I need to go. And I think just showing up here and being here is a good indication of that. In 5 years, I would love to be helping people share their stories, specifically something you indicated on. The one who controls the narrative controls history. And I am really interested in developing a network that allows queer people, specifically trans and non-binary, to share their stories, share their histories, and also tell the story of Robert Rayford, who was a young Black boy who was later discovered had died from AIDS-related pneumonia. And so his story is not told. His story is told in like these health journals that he was this gay Black man. No one really knows that. You do your research and you're like, you don't know what he was, because at the time, that sort of health and that sort of intention and that sort of focus on Black men was not really the focus of, generally the focus of America. They didn't care. So how can we tell the story of this young black boy who we described died of this disease of cerebral, which is found in like older white male, is this young 16-year-old boy, but they discovered that he had AIDS or HIV within this, he was infected with that. And I think many stories like that exist. And I want to be able to create a platform and create sort of a structure where folks can come and do that and be the controllers of their story, be the controller of our stories, because we define history. Absolutely. So it's sort of kind of trying to move myself in that direction as best as I can and trying to stay out of my way as well.
Yeah.
So, and that's been a challenge. It's a lot of letting go and being vulnerable.
That part,
Going through that.
getting out of your own way. How many of us have ever experienced being in your own way? And things would flow so much smoothly if we could just learn to step aside and get out of our own way. Wow, what an amazing story. So this is one final question for all of you all. In a nutshell, if you had to give advice to those of us who are in the room, or anyone who's in the room, or anyone who's live streaming or watching this, what advice would you give them about the right passion and purpose, which is our theme for this year?
I would say you need to take some time to learn and hear your voice. Writing is about perspective and about voice. And in a world where people try to be like other people, you have something. There is something, the universe has it. There's something that you feel, there's something that you think, there's something that you emote that comes quite naturally. It is your voice. For you to move forward in anything, you need to hear it. As children, we have it. Sometimes it gets talked out of us because the parents and the caregivers think they're protecting us. So they want us to fall in line and do everything that may be contrary to what we know our voice is telling us. But this is the journey of life. When you get older, if you're blessed to live long enough, you find yourself going right back to the voice that you had when you came here. We always return home. So find your voice. And when you see your voice, shout it, write it, and you'll see how beautiful it looks on the page.
Awesome.
I would say that writing, honestly, is hard as hell. It is full of unknowns. It is often underpaid and often underappreciated. It's hard. But if you write what you're truly passionate about, what you feel like you cannot leave this earth without saying, it makes it so much easier. So that's my.
I've been doing sabbaticals these last, I guess, 3 years in terms of writing and trying to fall back in love with the craft, the process. Just giving, I feel God's giving me, like Andre said, we have a voice that's in us. You know what I'm saying? God speaks, He speaks to us individually. You know your love language with God. You know your relationship with God if you're a believer. I feel that, again, we as gay people, we should not feel guilty for demanding love. You know, God says the greatest of these things, the law that we're supposed to carry out is to love and to live amongst the nations peaceably. So with that being said, don't feel guilty for demanding the love that you know in your heart that you deserve. So, awesome.
I'm not gonna give you the last word.
All right, I'm like right into the camera. So this is for y'all. But we're living in a very dark time, a time that is trying to pull everything out of you. Don't reflect on that. Like many of the people up here are saying, find your voice, practice those things. You don't have to be a producer to be worthy or valuable for those things to make sense. Like wake up, choose you, and choose happiness. Choose what makes you happy and follow that joy that gives you, whether it's I want to paint my nails, or whether that's I want to write, or I want to read a book, or I just want to sit in the sun and do nothing. Do those things, sit with yourself, and allow that to come to you. But you don't have to always, find yourself producing. Really look to producing more of you into the world. I don't know who this person that said this, but the example you would like to see in the world. Follow the 5 code. So I think if you carry those two, you'll go very far.
Awesome. Ladies and gentlemen, let's give it up for John Collins, Stacey Hamilton, Andre Hall, and Leon Alexander is here. All right, so we're going to transition to our next thing, which is a giveaway. Now, we've got these 3 amazing baskets over here, right? So if you haven't purchased your raffle ticket for your basket, you need to do so like now, okay? Do so now. So please make sure that you purchase your ticket. So my guests, if you would return to your seats, we're going to be enlightened with a little bit of spoken word here by none other than John Collins himself. Let's give him a hand as he comes back.
So I guess I'm gonna stay with my theme in terms of love. That's kind of been like my focus these last few weeks in terms of my brain. I wrote this piece for a friend of mine who got married last year, a couple years ago actually. So I dedicated this to them for their wedding day. It's called Poetry. Yes is all that I can say. I've never felt this way around another. I can openly express the way I feel because you are an open notebook full of my flows. You are the poetry I write, words others haven't heard me speak. There's this place of serenity behind your brown eyes that invites me to bask in the comfort I found in you. Such warmth in your voice, an energetic spirit that has left a mark upon my mind, intriguing conversations, stimulating personal interaction, love in all its human interpretation. I'm digging the way we're taking our time. Today is the day you proclaim me as yours and you mine. You are unique and stand apart from others in my past. No longer time and space between you and I, something so meaningful has happened. Pure, unparalleled, unexpected. I patiently waited to gain access to your world, and on today, I publicly surrender my all and sacred covenant with you. Never have I felt so comfortable. God, I'm able to be my type of man around here. It's exciting to find someone who appreciates the total sum of we. I watch you, quietly observing things I love about you, things I find sexy. Your elegant communication, the way you diddy bop while walking, as if there's some recording on repeat playing in your head, the cut of your stash, the deep hearty laughs, your attentive nature as a dad, the look you give during eye contact, your intensity. You are an open notebook full of my flows. You are the poetry I write, words others haven't heard me speak, various pages ripped out, numerous stanzas being strategically placed as I cut and paste thoughts, once simply fiction, now personified, same gender love and beauty. You have quietly ended my search. You are the puzzle and I the last piece you accept to become and remain complete. Today I take your hand, guide you from your hiding place and into my light of genuine care. Begin to really share and really know what the words I love you mean. Understand the definition of want, need, and yearn with more than sexual connotation. You have my mind so blown. I want to learn more and agree on extending legs and planting feet on the next step to become one. You truly should know. You are an open notebook full of my flows. You are the poetry I write, words others haven't heard me speak. Your existence means a great deal to me, seeing as how much your image commands every first part and last part of each thought processed in my mind. I do, are the words that I will say. In you, I found the embodiment of everything I want in a Black man. With respect to quality, you personify my poetry.
right, we're back with our second panel for Artists in the Afternoon Through the Right Passion and Purpose. Sitting to my left, we have none other than Adam Math, who is the President and Executive Director of the Black Alphabet, not-for-profit organization. We have critically acclaimed author, poet, spoken word artist, professor, activist, Tim M. West. We also have founder and editor of Black Wall Street Times, Nehemiah Frank. And last but certainly not least, founding of Living Life Foundation, Jordan Live. Jordan Live. Awesome. Let's give them a hand. My first question is for Nehemiah. Now, in 1921, something horrific happened in this country where the government turned against its own citizens and literally annihilated a thriving Black community in Tulsa, Oklahoma, that we know today as Black Wall Street. There's some personal as well as professional ties there. Would you kind of tell us your story and how the two are related?
Yeah, so of course I named my publication after my community. And it was Booker T. Washington who actually gave Greenwood, the name of the community, the name Black Wall Street. My family, they had been living there before the massacre. They survived the massacre and they stayed. And it took me a long time to figure out, like, why would you stay after, these people do this horrible thing to your community? Like, they didn't just take out a street, they took out an entire community, right? There was nothing left but the basement of a church in Tulsa at the time. And then, of course, the massacre of 300 Black people. Many of them dumped into mass graves around the city. But I wanted to pay homage to my community, the excellence, the Black excellence that was Black Wall Street. So that was the reason why I named my publication Black Wall Street.
Awesome. And unfortunately, in American history, that story is all too familiar. All we have to do is go around the country and pick spots, and there's similar stories of thriving Black communities that were annihilated by mobs. We don't even have to go very far, maybe a little bit 50 miles north here. We call it Lake Lanier, but underneath Lake Lanier is a town called Oscarville, where the same thing happened. So, I don't take it lightly for those of us who live in and around Georgia. When folk all of a sudden go missing and drowning in Lake Lanier, perhaps that energy under there of some angry ancestors may be taking some people under. So I'm just saying. But we laud you for what you're doing and paying homage to that lost community. So tell us, what is the Wall Street?
Yeah, so the Black Wall Street Times, it is a multimedia platform. The majority of the people that work at the Black Wall Street Times are writers, but we also do video storytelling. Sometimes we hold events such as this one. But it's just, the focus is accessing the new civil rights. People shouldn't have to hit a paywall, especially if you're coming from a community that has been historically disenfranchised. They shouldn't run into a paywall to get critical information that could help them with their health, or tell them about a certain school in their neighborhood, or just keep them informed with local politics.
So tell me what you mean by a paywall.
Okay, so I'm sure people hit a paywall, right? Like you're searching for some news, you want to go to the New York Times, or perhaps a local news publication, ours being the Tulsa World, which actually came from the Tulsa Tribune, which was the start of the massacre. That's a whole other story. But you're hitting this paywall, and if you
don't have the funds, you're not in the know. And people should be in the know. And that's, our slogan is access is the civil right.
Wow, that's powerful. So first of all, we're in a day and time where there's been an overt attempt to rewrite or whitewash history. Now, what access that I can get to the history, I gotta pay for.
Yeah, last week in Tulsa, we've been having bomb threats at our local school district over woke propaganda. People are saying that the librarians at the schools are, feeding this woke ideology to the students. And so, a lot of people don't understand the context of how that happened. And so if you hit a paywall, you're not going to know that the state superintendent, was extremely far right, to the point of obsession, right? That it was his dangerous rhetoric like Trump that led to these bomb threats at schools in Tulsa.
Wow, and this whole notion of critical race theory and that sort of thing being taught to kids, that's something that on the doctoral level, in terms of theory, that people encounter. They're not five-year-olds being taught critical race theory in the elementary school. So let's just get that out there now and dispel that myth, all right? Awesome. So we applaud you for the work that you are indeed doing and admonish you to please continue. Access is the new civil rights. Wow, how amazing is that? Wow. So next to Nehemiah, we have Jordan. And would you tell us about your foundation? Tell us about you.
Well, my foundation, Living Life Foundation, we are in our first year. So we thank you. It's an arts and culture nonprofit for Black creators and just overall creators of color. And I wanted to make sure that we dedicated it. Our mission was for us because for so often, I'm a Black queer boy from Atlanta, and knowing other creators of color and hearing the struggles and just hearing what people need, what they want, how the struggles that they're having in the field. I wanted to see exactly how we can combat that and making sure that artists are prepared, especially children, young creators. We wanted to make sure that they are exposed to the arts in a way that, like never before, like they would have never imagined, because we know how impactful exposure is on an earlier level for children. So we wanted to make sure that we are targeting and we are hitting those points, because it's great to see us in certain spaces that the masses might not have expected us to be in, because we know that we have the skill set and the gifts to do it, but it's all about providing those opportunities. So our duty is to make sure that we are bridging the gap to provide those opportunities. That we can't bridge the gap, we're trying to do it, because it's not us that do. I'm doing my part and my team is doing their part, and we're going to make it happen. So that's Living Life.
Awesome. So now you said you're doing your part and your team.
Yeah.
Who are you working with?
Well, I have a team. I have my board of directors. We are a young board, but we are a distinguished board of directors, covering all the art, all areas of the arts. I wanted to make sure we had someone from theater, dance, writing, it just runs the gamut. I wanted to make sure all the bases were covered so we can have somebody to speak to the things that we want to cater to.
Wow. So let me say this. I am super, super proud and amazed. Proud of you and your foundation for taking on this work at such a young age. Now, do you mind sharing how young you are?
27.
27 years old. Wow. Living and operating in that place and space at 27 is absolutely amazing. And bringing others to that awareness of the youth, because they are the future, they are tomorrow. And you are you're laying amazing framework and foundation. So kudos to you, my friend, for all the work that you are doing. So any projects that are currently on deck for your organization that you all are currently producing?
I'll say most most recently right now, we have our youth program that we just announced our school partner. We're partnering with the Barack Michelle Obama Academy. So we, right after Labor Day weekend, we start with the students on Tuesday. And this year we received the grant from the Whitney Houston Legacy Foundation for our youth program. So that's anybody who knows me knows that Whitney Houston is my favorite of all time. I never had the pleasure of meeting Whitney, but had I known she, lived in Alpharetta for so many years, I probably would have been on her doorstep. So things happen for a reason. But that it was an enormous gift. I was super blessed and just grateful that they saw something in what we were doing and just our mission, our vision for young creatives of color. And that they blessed us with that opportunity. So we are hitting the ground running. We're going to make sure that the kids have what they need. In the spring, we're going to be doing the collegiate career readiness program with Clark Atlanta, my alma mater. So we have some things lined up, and just having some things in mind for, of course, queer creatives, because we can't exclude the queer experience from the Black experience, or it's not a Black experience in its entirety. So I'm making sure that we have us there as well, because it would be lost on me if I didn't do something and I'm a queer creator. Yeah, we are in our first year where we got things going.
Awesome.
Want to move.
So how do we give to the foundation?
Well, you can go on Living Life Foundation. The grant money is great from the Whitney Houston Foundation and some other grants we got, but of course, in-kind donations. So, yes, livinglifefoundation.org.
Awesome, awesome. And Nehemiah, can we also make contributions to the Black Wall Street Times?
Yeah, we have a donate button on our site that you can go to, and some people pay $5 a month, some people pay $100, and so it's not that much. So everybody, please go and donate. Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you so very much for sharing, and please exercise your right to dig deep into your pockets to donate to these most worthy causes. So next to me, my immediate left is Adam, who is the president and executive director of the Black Alphabet. Now I know about the Arabic alphabet, the one we use every day, but I don't know about these Black alphabets. Can you tell me about this Black alphabet that you run?
So Black Alphabet, I believe, came from you, right? Yeah. So I think the co-founders of the organization, which this one, you'll probably hear about that later. Originally, we're trying to include a bunch of letters in the alphabet, like LGBTQ, SGL, LMNOP, and they were like, yeah, Black Alphabet is what we don't call it. And that's how it came to be.
Wow. So tell us, what do you all do?
So we are an arts and cultural organization based in Chicago. We do some national work, including in Cincinnati, South Florida in October, and some international work. We'll talk about at some point, but we're doing some stuff in Africa in October as well. And I'm doing some stuff in London next year as well. So we started off this film festival organization 10 years ago. I was not part of the organization when we started. This brother saw something in me. I don't know what it was, but he was like, and I was like, yeah, I'm tweaking on something. And I think sight unseen, he was like, okay, we're gonna show that this film festival. And showed it, really got some great feedback from that first screening. And then the team at the time asked me to join the board, which I did. I really had no intention of, sticking around for the last 10 years, but it kind of worked out the way that I'm the executive director and president. And we do more than just a film festival now. We just finished a retreat, 5-day retreat, 20 young men in Chicago, powered by the Obama Foundation, and really pulled them out of their environment, therapy, for our therapy sessions, it's really just a quiet and spiritual place to be themselves. It's not surprisingly, that was, a great experience for them.
So educate us. What is art therapy?
Art therapy is, for me, and the reason why I brought the program in is it's a less intimidating form of therapy, particularly for young people. So they leverage art, painting, collaging, hip hop was one of the sessions. And they talk about issues that come up within that session in the group setting.
Wow, that is absolutely amazing. So and is this available to just individuals in the Chicago area at this particular point in time?
The art therapy sessions are available to people of all ages in the city of Chicago, and then in the suburbs of Chicago, so Cook County, is a major suburb of Chicago. For free, young people are incentivized to come, so you don't want anything to be a barrier, like especially be a barrier. So we get you there, we pay for train pass, and we will give you $25 for sure.
Wow, that's amazing. So if you are in the Chicago area and need of art therapy for the youth, please check out this foundation and utilize those amazing services. Wow. Thank you so very much for sharing. And so last but not least, the founder, organizer of Black Alphabet, co-founder of Black Alphabet, Tim West. How are you today, sir? And what have you been up to?
I was joking with someone on the side that started an LLC last year, which is too many things, LLC. People chuckle and they're like, well, it's up to a rapper. It's up to a professional. So, but I think, the through line that all of us are talking about is just how creative spirit moves. And I think the genius of Black people and Black queer people in particular is that, I think you said this, John, I think we were planted on the earth to create and to heal. And I think when we can step into that, so I see a lot of the work I do as healing work. Sometimes it's a poem, sometimes it's a speech, or a protest, but it's all healing work, and it's all rooted in, I've been thinking a lot about ancestors and my own lineage. And the first person to ever first person to see me and accept me was my grandmother. And I think it was 12, and she said, "You like boys?" And I said, "They cool." She said, "No, you like boys." And I was sitting here like, she just called you. She's still on my feet right in front of me. But I remember that conversation because I had an Uncle Jesse, who was her brother-in-law. And older Black people. I grew up in Arkansas. And they have a way of saying gay without saying gay. So she was like, he was handsome, smart, a poet, unmarried. So I kind of put the thing, and he educated all the Black people in that small community. And so it was a way of helping me see that, I hate when people try to act like the queer stuff is new, or the non-binary stuff is new. We have been here since the beginning of time. And sometimes we have to remind people of that and step into that greatness. I saw an interview recently on Native Sons where this interview was asking James Baldwin, it must have been really difficult. You grew up Black and poor and homosexual. He said, I felt like I hit the jackpot. And when I hear that quote, I was like, that's it. Like, we have to step into the reality that we, like, those identities have fueled us and make us stronger.
Yes. Wow. Awesome. So as a collective here, individually and collectively, what do you plan on doing in order to bring more healing, to bring about more culture into not just the and awareness, not just into the Black queer community, but just in the Black community in general? What more you plan on doing? What more can we do as individuals?
I was thinking about collaboration. Just hearing this young person talk about the program, I was like, I'm trying to do some stuff. I work full time at the National Center for Civil and Human Rights. I'm executive director there of the LGBTQ Institute, and the kids are having a tough time right now. Hearing on the news that people calling gay folks demons and groomers, and I mean, I almost felt like 8 years ago it just wasn't as bad. It's like the rhetoric got so toxic, and so I'm like, we're trying to do some things. I'm like, we need to collaborate because I would love to work with you. So I think there's enough room for all of us, and sometimes people step into the idea that they have to be. I'm like, no, how can I collaborate with the people that are in this space and in this room to really build what we're trying to do?
Yes, absolutely. Anyone else want to add on to that? What can we do? What else can we do individually and collectively to bring about more awareness, more healing, more culture to not only the Black community, but the Black queer community as well?
Well, I'll say so one of the reasons why I started the Black Wall Street Times was because I wanted to see Black writers fully and be paid with their work. And that's something that we've actually been able to do. I can't believe that a Black me, right, pulled this off. And so the plan is to continue to scale the company, to continue to find corporate partners who are willing to advertise with us. Last week I was in Cincinnati, and we closed the deal with Procter & Gamble, which is like the biggest thing that's ever happened to us as a Black media company. And the goal is just to continue to hire more Black writers so they can be able to tell their stories and be able to find other stories that need to be elevated.
And you all know that there used to be a time where to see representation in any form of media for Black queer people was non-existent. We salivated, for lack of a better term, when there was a story that we could identify with. And so now to see how the tides have changed, but to also see how they're attempting to change it back is something that we must continue to speak against and to fight against. Adam, anything you'd like to add to that?
Yeah, I would add that we continue to resist. The reason why we're doing our business in Florida is because Florida is banning books. It's doing a lot of anti-LGBT stuff. And one of our major themes for the film festival this year is Uganda. We're dedicating an entire day to Uganda and what's going on in Uganda. But a lot of folks don't know that Uganda used to be Uganda, and they had a whole bisexual king. So it was not that way until the British Church.
Colonizers.
Just white construct. So educating folks on that is part of my personal mission. And this really just exists because these narratives are in a lot of these white supremacist narratives and ideologies, and we need to make sure that we don't let this.
So wait a minute, you mean to tell me that this whole notion of being queer is found in African culture?
Oh, absolutely.
Really?
And they would leaders oftentimes. So things about Rwanda and Uganda, we had the Azabi warriors, we had a lot of those that were openly living a life that they call gay, living a life that folks don't know anything about.
Right, anybody wants to add to that? Because I'm finding that fascinating.
I think a lot of people will find it fascinating because it's a part of the Black experience that people don't want you to know. But that's, I'll say, just with the foundation, that's one of our main points is the exposure piece of it, making sure people know exactly what they may not have known or might not have learned in school, or parents might not have taught them, stuff like that. So exposure is, a huge part of just our growth as, as a community, as a culture, and we have to, just do our part and just making that known. I know for me, I'm a numbers person. I'm very strategic, so I always ask. I'm like, how can we help? What would you like to know? Stuff like that, in order to really help move the needle along. So it's just all about having a starting point, see what we can be of use, see what Black creators, where can we help out, stuff like that. So just
Awesome. Awesome. Ben, Tim, I'll give you the last word, and also tell us how we can get to your information.
Well, I want you to give me these people. Like, I'll be okay. I'm gonna get money from the white corporation. No, we gotta be strategic. You know what I'm saying? So, but if you want to buy a book or a T-shirt, that's great. I created this, and the word I was going to say, I kept seeing these T-shirts with names on them, and none of them really reflected Black queer experience. So I wanted to create one with names of people that I grew up not hearing about. I read Baldwin, but if someone had told me that James Baldwin was a Black queer man, the agony and heartache that would have saved. If someone had told me that the person that was the architect of the March on Washington, Bayard Rustin, was gay. I mean, if someone had told me Audre Lorde. So I want young people, even if I'm passing them at the mall or whatever, to see the shirt and be like, maybe they don't know who it is, but they may go look up Baldwin or Rustin.
Yes.
And it also has this blank that's like, I am.
Yes.
You fill in the blank. You get to be that next person, because I believe it's all about creating legacy.
Wow. Awesome. Wow. Ladies and gentlemen, please give it up for me. As in I live. Live. I'm gonna get it together one of these days. We're also going to be, as the panelists will, the members will excuse themselves, Tim and West is going to give us a original piece. Okay, he's going to share a little bit with us. Let's give it up for Tim and West. And thank you once again for our panelists.
So I was over there picking out pieces. So I get inspired by what's in space. I try not to come with a plan. So I'm gonna do some really quick short ones, if that's okay. This one, remind me your name one more time. Dion, maybe get this one. This is called Wet. It's in a book called Predispositions. I'd like to become more wet again. Boys are raised to be concrete, poured soft, they harden where earth would have softened them. But time, being faster than boys' feet can race, chases them into being men. Erect like monuments, these towers of Babel, these tragic phallic fallacies confuse the language of love with the language of power. So sun, wind, rain, and the elements like tears that don't get released almost always leave these buildings formed of stubborn impatience and domination broken. All hardened things eventually break. I want to raise a peace flag, place it on my pole, surrender this hardness that has killed me to protect me, become soft again, like in the womb, wet. This next piece I wrote because, like many of us, at least Gen Xers, there was like maybe 1 or 2 pages of Black history in the history books. And there was this image that was always embedded in my head of the slave ship. And you get the bodies laying in this kind of open slave ship. And so this is a piece I wrote about that image. Why I love Black men. Because I believe in blood memory. See him best in the dark, the cacophony of chains, a lullaby. Since the desperation of being lost at sea, floating, stacked next to, on top of, beside him, felt him dying, tasted him crying, prayed he would live to see me in light again. Because there was a time, the only way I knew I was living was his breath on my flesh. This salt, this death, this passion, a testimony that we would only survive if strong, a test of resilience. Different ships, same boat. Time bending forward beyond middle passages, still gripping his hand for dear life until his skin began to feel like mine. Because he has seen me hum, mandingo, strange fruit, gunshots, hunting dogs, baggage. Because salt is a texture with grit like Africa, and I am black and sometimes blue and choose to love a black man because I can remember. This was a tough choice to make, but I'm gonna do this one. This is John, talking about all that sexy stuff. This was called Foreplay number 22. It's PG-18. Tickle me softly. Count the glances between breaths. Caress the untouched parts again. No part of this brown skin landscape orphan. Keep me warm like home. Soften the cracked places until I am whole again. Lay your head where breath regains its rhythm. Let our lips dance to my heart's song. Pull close enough to almost kiss. Pull away to push closer. Wrestle with the gravity of passion. Allow me to be manly, a rough pleasure, a gentle strength, reassuring eyes, for I am nothing if not a comforter. Test my patience to hold the weight. Press fingers where the back flexes. It is fearless and voracious. Attuned to the rise of fall and breath, eardrum to heartbeat syncopation, trace whatever feels neglected. Hold me better than I have held myself. Let me fold myself around you with such care, I break your brokenness. Fill the space between us with smile. Let me rest there as if we were dying tomorrow to live forever. And should you feel a tear, do not run from it. Taste its salt. I long to sense sensuality so strong, I smell it in our sheets. Feel it brush my skin when I remember us tangled and joyous, inventing new ways to cuddle. Understand that sexing rushes the anticipations. Let it alone thriving and wanting. Do not allow its selfish tendency to rush the tenderness between us. Exploit our magic. Be patient enough to feel full. There is nothing but time to discover new joy and begin again tomorrow.
Wow. Okay. I feel like I need somebody bring that music up through. So now we are going to give away one of those baskets. And so as we prepare for our third and final panel, I'm going to ask my final three panelists to come join me up here. And I'm going to have one of those lovely ladies to pick the winner of, how many we giving away, Phil?
3.
3, we're going to give away all 3 of them?
Not
We're
at
going to
once.
wait. We're going to wait. All right, we're going to do one. All right, we're going to do one. All right, so since Miss Penny is first, come on up, Miss Penny. Put your hand in the back. Now, wait a minute. If you win.
No,
All right. We're reach it. All right. Let's see. All right. Everybody got your tickets out? The number is 9, 5, 3, 3, That's it for now.
You want to
Yes,
tell
sir.
everybody what you want.
Okay.
So they know.
All right. All right, we'll do one more shortly. So for our third and final panel of Artists in the Afternoon, the Right. For our third and final panel of Artists in the Afternoon, the Right, Passion and Purpose. I intentionally saved what I consider to the best for last. The reason being is that oftentimes as we seek out our passion and our purpose, we don't hear from the ones who have paved the way and laid the foundation and can speak to our life experience. One of the things I do love about our event is that it is a multi-generational event. And so you'll hear in just a moment the stories of triumph, the history, the evolution of each one of these individuals. I have to my immediate left, Penny Duncan Stevens, author of currently 2 books, Atlanta native daughter, Doris Thomas, and poet extraordinaire, spiritual poet extraordinaire, Latanya Mack. Let's give these wonderful ladies a hand. I'm gonna start with Ms. Pitt. To quote Langston Hughes, life for me ain't been no crystal stair. Tell us about your story, your work, and why it is so important for you to convey your experience to the masses.
Where do I start? Okay. My story started when I was a little girl in a family of 4, and my mom had a series of nervous breakdowns. My dad was working construction and trying to manage feeding us and also supporting alcohol. When he found out that they had come to the house to find out why my sister and brother were not in school and that social services might be coming to try to take us out of the home. Since I was a baby, he took me to an older family and left me there and said he would be back in 2 weeks, and he never returned. The family was an older family in their 50s and really didn't want a little bratty kid around. and so I really experienced emotional, mental, physical, and even sexual abuse while living with the Smiths. I lived with them for 12 years, and to say the least, I wasn't a happy child, but I didn't really know what happiness was because other than the fact that, until I was about 2 and a half, living with my family, I could remember that. But anyway, what happened was that after I was abused and raped by a 30-year-old grandson of theirs, my sister, who was also in foster care, attended the same church that I went to, and I told her what had happened, and so she said, I'm going to tell my foster mom because that's just not right. That's just not right. And so that was the first sign of hope in the 12 years that I lived with them. The foster mom said, I'm going to give you enough money to take the bus to come to my house because I'm going to take you to the police station because what you've experienced is the sexual abuse is not right.
So, because I don't want you to tell everything, I want them to buy the book.
Okay.
The emotional, physical, sexual trauma, let's just call the thing a thing. It was trauma. And I can even feel your angst now as you recall and recount those experiences. Why is it so doggone important for us to talk about this?
It is important because as a child, back in the day, it was, you didn't tell about your personal business. They said, that's family. You don't tell people what goes on in the house. So I lived with all of these secrets inside, afraid to express myself. And so what is important for me to relate is that not only me as a female, but also males experience some of the same things that I have been through. And I just want to say, hell no, don't let it happen. Speak it, tell it. This is your story.
You all know that other things don't heal well. And let me ask, how long did it take you to get to this place in space to where you were willing to share your story? Because again, children, when we were taught, many of us were taught that as children, we were to be seen and not heard. So, and we carry that, and we carry that guilt, we carry that shame, we carry all of that with us throughout our entire lives. So how did you get to that place in space of being comfortable enough to say, this is my story and only your truth?
Okay, I call it a divine intervention, but I need to step back just a little bit. When I went to the police station with the foster mom, they had the grandson come in, took a lie detector test and all of that stuff. But anyway, we left there with me going back with the Smiths because that was their grandson and they would not press charges against him. But my spark of hope was there was out of this lily white police station, one black social worker that they had me meet with at the end that said, I am so sorry that all of this has happened. It's not right. But if you ever need to talk, here's my card and here's a dime. It only took a dime to call it in a phone booth at that time. And so when I went back home, a lot of the same abuse was happening while I was pregnant. And I did call the social worker and she said, Penny, she said, this is just sad. I'm so sorry, but I'm glad you called me. And if you need to talk again, but there's nothing that I can do. But through it all, God was in the background. 2 weeks later, a police woman came to the house and said, I have a petition to take this child out of this home. And I'm telling you, that wasn't God.
Wow. So I'm gonna stop this picture right there. If you want to know the rest of the story, she's got both of her books here, Through Penny's Eyes and Childhood Secrets, Silence and Secrets. So make sure you stop by her table because it is a powerful story and something that we for years, and we're getting a lot better about it now. Talking about trauma, especially sexual trauma that happens in Black families. Ms. Penny's family that's not the first time, and it won't be the last, unfortunately, but we need to start giving people power, empowering people to talk about these experiences. And so thank you so very much for sharing, Ms. Penny. We have a native daughter of Atlanta, Ms. Doris Thomas. Ms. Doris, tell us about who you are and your experience.
Well, I am a native Atlanta. September 22nd, I will be 81 years old. I grew up in this area, in Summerhill, but in this area also, because Picnic Park was around the corner. And that was the only food we had to go to, had to walk from Avenue over here to food. So, my history, my stories are written around historic events pretty much. I grew up, as I said, around Atlanta. My first memory I have is living on Mitchell Street. It's about a block from Northside Drive. And I recently, I guess just before I wrote this story, no, I haven't, this is going to the next one. I went to the library to fact check myself because I didn't remember how old I was. And I found that I lived on Mitchell Street in 1944. No, not 1948. And what I remember about Mitchell Street is that we had two roosters in the compound. And the only way you could either go through the yard or go around. I didn't want to go around because it's too long. So I took my brother and we climbed over the fence to go through the yard. And with the roosters on the other end of the yard. When we got to the middle of the yard, the mean rooster started toward us with his spurs up. And I go in there, Lord, this rooster is going to kill us. So I told my brother, I said, let's run as fast as you can. But when we got almost to the other side, I saw a bicycle rim. And I picked the bicycle rim up and I hit the rooster upside the head and knocked him. I thought I killed him. And that was going to be worse than the rooster attacking me because you would have gotten out. But I would have gotten out. But we managed to get to the end before he regained consciousness.
Who's going to the rooster had died? At least she was that bitter.
I don't know. Things like that, and the fact that Billy Wright and Little Richard used to come to the house. Wow. So I'm doing research on, make sure that my facts, my memory, and it does line up with what I remember.
Wow. So you've lived through an amazing portion of Atlanta history, from the creation of the I-20 corridor, the 7585, and that literally split the city.
Yeah.
Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yes, well, I grew up on Rawson Street in Summer Hill. I-20 tore that area out. You don't have that anymore. And for me, well, it also divided, Grady Grady Homes was two or three blocks over from where we live. And for me, the I-20 just cleared out an entire black community. Wow. And so it took, we would walk to Grady Hospital from where we lived. But so it didn't clear that out because the bridge, going over 20. But by the time they did that, we had already moved. And now I'm going to tell you this story that really one of the stories. I had a baby aunt that I write about in this book, a baby cousin, and she developed pneumonia, and I had to go every day to feed her. I had to go to Grady every day to feed her. And so Grady Homes was on, let me try to give you a picture. Memorial Drive, Capitol Avenue.
Yes.
And on either side was Great
Hospital.
not Great Hospital, Capitol Homes.
Capitol, okay.
Capitol Homes. And so I had to go twice a day to feed her. And on the left side, it was in the summertime, there were a bunch of white kids sitting on the porch. And one day they decided to say, "Hey, nigger girl." And I was mad because I had to go walk over there to her. Don't ask me what happened to me. I must have lost my mind. Because I ran up on that porch to hit the boy who called me a nigger. He ran in the house. I ran in the house. And I'm thinking, these kids, they're looking at me like I'm crazy. They didn't say that, they didn't get themselves together until I had ran out of the street. And when they decided they were gonna try to run me, but I guess I don't know, Lord gave me some legs. So I had to go all the way, I had to go 2 blocks over to get to Grady from then on. But I decided there were a gang of boys, Sugar, JoJo, and all myself. I'm tired of walking out of the way. Can y'all go with me? Well, they came up with another plan to let me walk in front of them, and they walked behind. When I got to the apartment, they ran out. And then Sugar and the other gang ran out, and we fought on the corner of Memorial Drive, Capitol Avenue, until police
Wow, okay. So, yeah, so you were a little bit of I never said troublemaker, because you were minding your business. But you take your stuff either. So where can we find these stories?
on Amazon.
Okay.
And Miss Penny is in here, she has a story in here too.
And the name of the book is?
Eyes of the Beholder.
Wow.
And this book is written by 12 senior women. I think the youngest might have been 55. And the oldest was about 94, but she passed before we got her started then. I think I'm now the oldest writer in the book. But they are excellent stories, a lot of, first, we have a young lady who was the first aviator in here, just in Penny's story. Really, all the stories.
Wow. Wow. Well, thank you for sharing the stories. Wow. Wow. And last but not least, we have Latanya Mack. Now, I've been told that when you retire, you're supposed to retire from something to something, right? So tell us what you retired to when you retired.
Well, I decided I wasn't going to work for anybody anymore. I'm going to work for me. And so I kind of wrote a little bit about that.
So how long were you working before you retired? And what were you doing?
I worked in the hospital in Chicago for 35, 40 years. And I retired at 65. And I kind of got her, my young sister here. She's 80 and 81. So in Chicago, we celebrated. We did a lot of celebrating. And so I kind of like to still celebrate in my life. And so that's when I retired to do celebrate.
So you started writing And why did you start writing? Or were you published your first book, and how did that come about?
Well, I published the book when at age 70. I was 70 when I published my first book, but I started writing a few years earlier because I had spinal fusion, and I was hospitalized for more than a month. During that time, different things started coming to me, and I decided that I would just kind of jot down things, and over the years, it became a book. And my family and friends encouraged me to publish it.
So,
and there it started.
So how many books have you published?
I'm working on the 7th book.
Now, you saying that this is her last one? But at 81, you keep finding inspiration to keep writing. And where does this inspiration come from?
Just feelings as I talk to people and I see people. Just things come to me to say to them. And so mostly I won't say them, I'll just write them, give them to them. And over the years, I think as I moved from Chicago to California to Georgia, I wasn't able to see the people face to face. And I just kept the notes, and this is how the books came about. It's more inspiration and confirmation for people that I feel.
Wow, wow. So, you three ladies, women of wisdom and of power, who have overcome traumatic experiences, who lived through a lot of historical events, who have encouraged family and friends. What words of wisdom can you impart upon us in here and those of us out there relative to fulfilling our passion and purpose? What would you say to us?
I would say, right, it's already been said this morning, but I would say, write your story. Be authentic, be transparent, be you. Because there's only one you. Someone told me once who I found out was, I don't know whose side chick him or me. The other one, and then I was told when they were called up that there is so much, you're so much like them. And I said, baby, there is only one me.
That's right.
You will never find another
What advice would you give?
Well, mine is just real simple. Everybody has a story. You have a story. It's not my story, but it's your story. And your story is important, especially Black people. We need to talk more about what goes on in our lives. Not to get lengthy, but in my second book, I talked about the abuse from other family members that happened to me. I had never told anybody, but the secrets, don't keep them inside. You get it out there, tell it. You never know who you may be helping. Somebody else will say, that happened to me, but I was afraid to tell anybody. But after reading your book, I can voice it.
Awesome, awesome. And Miss Penny does have a third book coming. You know, she don't beat up a publisher first. But she's got a third one coming that continues to chronicle her stories of how she overcame these traumatic situations in her life. Ms. Latanya, what words, what advice would you give the people in here and out there about living in their passion and purpose?
It ain't over till God says so.
Mm-hmm.
We all have purpose, and the closer that we get into our purpose, the happier we are. You are happy when you're in your purpose, and you just have to accept yourself for who you are and what you know that you're here to do. And the next book that I'm publishing is called Evolve. And so evolving says what I would say to my younger self. Just be me, be okay with me, love me, and we have a purpose, and your purpose is always pursued, as long as you allow it. So just be okay with you. Just be okay. It's all right.
Wow.
Love you.
Wow. Yes, ma'am. Oh, awesome.
One little tip beyond being here today, stepping at our table made me, I shared a little tip with him about writing that I want to share. I've learned of a timeline, starting with your date of birth and 10 years on, 1942, 1952. What happened that you remember or know about from your birth to my birth, 1952, and then 1952 to 1962. Yes, and think about it, and that really has helped me a lot, just writing that timeline, and then anything be a timeline of childhood, that would include college, work, any of it, so that you can pull from there and start writing your story.
Awesome. Ladies and gentlemen, let's give it up for Thank you all so very much. Last but not least, we're going to be treated by an original poem from Latanya Mack. So as Ms. Doris and Ms. Penny take their seats, Ms. Mack is going to give us one of her original poems. Thank you all so much.
From my book again, I say, this is a beautiful flower. Beautiful flower. Follow your dreams. Life is more beautiful than it seems. The world needs your beauty. Wherever you go, just blossom, smile, and let your love flow. Omniscient God controls the time and the reason. Come, rest in comfort and love, no matter the season. You win hands down, whatever the test. God's got your back. Just do your best. My best is not good enough, you might say, because I get rejected every day. Beloved, dream on. Just change the way you choose to see yourself on today. I gave hand down on purpose of dreams to you. Stand still and let me show you what to do. Those dreams are milestones on your journey of life. They protect you daily from misery and strife. Use every dream's vision as an opportunity to share my love in you. Openly, I gave you that smile and beautiful hair, those lovely eyes, that angelic flare. a sensitive spirit, and a heart that cares. Right now, you think that life's not fair. Remember, you have opportunities beyond compare. Now own them and love yourself. Smile and share those unique blessings and beauty everywhere. Merciful God, in my need to make the whole world, I forgot to let love fight. In my quest for world accord, I skipped you, my exceedingly great reward. I plant or water as Holy Spirit leads. You prune and harvest those seeds. I am so grateful you let me know every dream is a handful with purpose and necessary for the kingdom's flow. Thank you for every dream in this stage of consciousness. I see them all as blessings, and dear Lord, I welcome every test.
So now, since you standing right here, we got another giveaway. Okay, let's see. All right. Number is 9, 5, 3, 3, 0, 9. Thank you so very much. Ladies and gentlemen, let's give all of our as we wrap up what we're going to do, we've got some food. We didn't want to have you come out this afternoon. So we've got some treats back there for you. So please stay and enjoy. And we also have one final basket that we want to give away. So don't leave just yet, anything, because we've got one more basket to raffle off. I want to say once again, thank you for coming out this afternoon and sharing your afternoon with us. On behalf of my co-host here, Phil Fleming, Phil Esteem, of the Esteem Awards, Pride Index, to Tom Logan, Evan Man, professional app for Black gay men, for and Meak Productions, who's also doing our live streaming. Here's Life Productions as well, for helping us out today, and for Pure Luxury for being our Pure Luxury